All right. Doc Ellis, the Hick doctor from Oklahoma. We're going to talk about federal workers' comp, VA disability, VA retirement, federal retirement. And the thing you need to know is that the VA law and the federal workers' comp law are ridiculously fair. Okay, they are made to help the vet, made to help the federal employee, but in practice, it's just the opposite. Federal employees that administrate VA and federal don't know the law. They've got an attitude because everybody does. There's a bias against anybody who files a claim. Allstate ran an ad for months. We fight fake car wreck claims to keep the car insurance premiums down by Allstate. I fell out of my chair laughing. The ad said if you file a claim, Allstate's going to fight you. In fact, they're so bad, by the way. And if you're listening to Allstate, I hope you come after me. I took the master's course in accident reconstruction. Okay? Low speed is not low speed. It can hurt you. Anyway, so there's a bias. When I started doing legal medicine 50 years ago, I thought 60% of our patients would be legitimate, 40% might be a little flaky, a little cheating, a little malingering. Now that I've been doing this for 50 years, it's very, very rare that there's malingering. Now, there's a lot of, psychological overlay. I think if you file a federal workers' comp claim or a VA disability claim, you'll ought to file for PTSD starting 6 months just from going through the morass. Right? Now, here's the problem. Pretend like I have a white coat. I am a doctor and I can wear a white coat. That's the problem. 50% of litigation requires a doctor's report. Occupational medicine is not taught in medical school. Well, federal workers' comp and VA disability are not occupational medicine. There's an occupational medicine component. It's legal medicine. Doctor, if you don't know the law and all the nuances and all the case law, keep your mouth shut. You're hurting people because you've got an attitude and you don't know, especially in federal workers' comp. We have a guy, 5 knee surgeries, including total knee. I appreciate the surgeon operating on the federal workers' comp because a lot of federal patients can't even find a doctor. When will I be at maximum medical improvement? Well, you'll never be at MMI because you're always going to need shots and therapy and stuff. But under the FECA Act, OWCP regulations, you're eligible for Schedule Award. That cost him $310,000. So doctors, if you don't know how to do this, refer to somebody that does. I don't do brain surgery. I'm licensed to do it. But if I have somebody who needs brain surgery, I send them a neurosurgeon. So if you need scut work taken care of, you need legal stuff taken care of, send it to us. It doesn't cost the patient anything. In federal workers' comp, we'll get your e-comp file. We'll do this. We'll get stuff done. We'll take care of you. Just amazing what we can do for you. Here's an example. January 11th, we've been trying to get the conditions of this federal employee upgraded. Just things had happened and things had changed. Now, here's a pearl for everybody out there. A CA1 is an acute injury. A CA2 is cumulative trauma like carpal tunnel. If you send in a form like that, they have to respond in 30 days. If the doctor sends a letter giving the medical rationale why it needs to be expanded, then the claim examiner sits on it. Well, anyway, so here's regarding my reconsideration request I submitted on 10/7/22, blah, 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 blah. I am requesting an oral hearing for the matter to be escalated to the claims examiner supervisor. We're not even asking for an oral hearing to get the things done. We just want to go above your head. Next day, all approved. We did that for this patient. They didn't have to pay us a penny. You don't need an attorney in federal workers' comp unless someone files criminal charges against you, and then I'll help you on that too. I've done 1,587 trials and depositions, including federal criminal court for federal employees, veterans, Social Security, blah, blah, blah. My testimony's never lost a case. So federal prosecutors, if you're going after one of my patients, read some of my transcripts or I'll eat your lunch because I know the law And in federal workers' comp, all we have to do in VA is just get it to somebody that will look at it. Now, here's the good thing: the veterans, the Veterans Appeals, they're lawyers. They're very honest. In federal workers' comp, they're very honest. You get an oral hearing, ECAB ruling. They're very, very honest, and it's not political at all. It's just. But the trouble is, you need all these words from a doctor, from white coat. Okay. So let's talk about federal workers' comp. What is a scheduled award? What is it? Well, it's a disability rating of your percentage and the amount of money you get. And it has to follow this book, the AMA Guides, Evaluation of Permanent Impairment, and all of the FECA rules and all of the FECA bulletins, OWCP rules. And so if you're a doctor and you know how to do AMA Guides for state, don't do it for federal because you'll screw it up. You won't know all the stuff. And it's because that's becoming a world of its own. Okay. But now you can go to ellisclinic.com, print out our scheduled award thing, and in the back you can put down, if I had an arm and I had this much, you can kind of figure out how much you're going to get. You can just do the math and see what's available and if it's worth the trouble. Now, VA disability, Nexus report. We get a lot of questions. What's a Nexus report? It's just a medical opinion because you have to have a doctor that understands legal medicine, and doctors don't. There's no training. You can go to law school and you're not going to know how to do a Nexus report. Got some questions? So people come from all over the United States, both sides of the ocean, to see some hick doctor because my staff knows how to do all this. Now, let's talk about e-comp. In federal workers' comp, you get to send your stuff electronically to the government. It's like having the prosecuting attorney's file. You can see what you're doing. This letter we did where we sent it, where the patient sent it. Now, our medical legal department put the wording together for that patient. In fact, we probably have to be competent. And it's sent in, and the next day everything's taken care of. And you can get in your e-comp file and see if everything's right. We had a claims examiner said, I left a voicemail, but she didn't call back. She scanned her phone records, said that's a lie, and the next day all her conditions are taken care of. Examiner's fault. If you get in an e-comp file, it's not even chronological. It's not organized. I don't know how the claims examiner do it. So let's give them a little love and give them a little pass. But so they're going to just have to say anything gets you off the line, and they don't get in trouble. You don't get to know the last name. If an insurance company did that kind of false stuff, it'd be a $30-40 million bad faith claim. Okay? So that would, but since they're anonymous people in federal workers' comp and VA, you only need high school education. You're judge and jury. Doctors don't know this stuff. Rating officers in VA don't know this stuff. But it depends where you are, what state. Some states are terrible, like in Oklahoma, about Middle Road. I got a call from a rating officer out saying, look, Dr. Ellis, your reports are so nice and succinct, and you give us the codes, the percentages, and a great Nexus report or causation. And we wish other people were like you. And I said, man, don't say that out loud. You're going to be fired. So it depends where you are. But the point you need to remember about all this stuff, the laws are set up that we always win. Just don't give up. Just because the government dumps on you, remember God is G-O-D, not G-O-V. There's no G-O-V. It's a system of rules and laws. It's not a person. I have an Ellis Clinic PC. Well, there's no Ellis Clinic PC. It's me. Okay. So don't give up. You got a question? Yeah.
Miss Krista Dean would like to know if you can speak on federal disability retirement.
Absolutely. Here it is, right there. Website first, okay? Federal Employment Retirement System. Very, very fair. Means you can't do the job for which you're hired. It's not Social Security, which means you can't do gainful employment, which is a higher level. A great example, Texarkana Army Depot, guy's a crane operator. He's got a fused neck operation. Well, he can't do the crane anymore. He's a danger to himself and everybody down the line. And so he's on FERS. He gets a $4,000 W-2 before he was on FERS. And the government comes after me, prosecuting attorneys, 5 years jail, $250,000 fine. Now, let me explain why they do this. They're not going to go after a drug cartel. They'll kill your kids, I understand. So they'll go after this poor guy who's never had a traffic ticket. I called his attorney. If he had a federal court date. Otherwise, I made him refund the money as interest. He shouldn't have taken the case. He's not qualified. Sounds like I need to come to federal court. How much? 2 days, $20,000 come for free. It's my hobby. My wife said, "You're getting paid to be an asshole." I said, "I'm getting paid to teach it." So we get to federal court, and there are 3 attorneys in the Department of Justice and their aides, and all these private detectives, video people, over $4,000. And you can see the judge going, "What's the deal?" Well, I talked for 20 minutes. I get 5 minutes in that talk. And the head attorney of the Department of Justice interrupted. And the judge yelled at him and said, "Counselor, this expert witness is answering my question." Of course, we won that case. All right. So that's first. But it's really simple. You get a doctor's report. You're going to have a white coat report. And then you cite. Now, here's a warning. In the past, the FERS law is very, very fair. We'd write a report saying they can't do the job which they're hired. It could be you got a bad back, you can't sit as secretary all day. Okay, it's that fair. Well, then Boyer's retirement system the last couple of years has got a hair up their fanny. We're going to fight everything, and I see fighting things like we can't use Dr. Ellis' report because he's not the treating doctor. There is no rule for that. Obviously, as an occupational medicine professor of occupational medicine, who've looked at rehab and done all that occupational medicine for years, I'm more qualified than a brain surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon. All right. In fact, in that case, they'd even sent a letter to the treating doctor, "Please answer these 4 questions." Since it was a federal form, the doctor was afraid to even answer. Anyway, we got it. We got it. Don't give up. Don't give up.
See anybody out chatting on YouTube?
You've had questions, especially e-comp. I'm talking to Sherry. We have an old e-comp division. You can get online, just do Google e-comp, and you can set up your electronic account. It's a way to send stuff to the government. But a lot of people want to come in, but we'll walk you through it on the phone. So we'd done a schedule ward, and we'd send an e-comp for the patient. And he's in Florida in his boat and a pier because he doesn't have a computer anymore. He's got to be near the library, and he's waiting for the OWCP to send him a password or something. And so Sherry gets on the phone, walks him out, and in a few minutes she's got it all done, and he's out. We're getting pictures of fish. Grateful people. And I loved it. Sherry said, "This is the most fun I've ever had," because you get to help people. That's what we like to do. And we can do it. Now, the difficulty, I think, from medicine to legal medicine, medicine's real simple. I just pull out the medical textbook, and that's what you do. Legal medicine, we may need to do it this way. We may need to do it that way. We may need to do this way. We may need to use this case law. Very mercurial. And I think that's hard for doctors, especially if they don't know the law or don't want to know the law. But they'll still try to do it themselves because they got a white coat. They think we think we're God.
Can you explain why patients should use e-comp over mailing in their stuff?
Okay, here's an example. This is a retired post office person, so they know how to do certified mail. So we did a 26-page schedule award on this, 26 pages out of this that we did. And then there's a CA7. It's just a form that says, check box, I want a scheduled award. It's sent in. She sent it certified mail. She gets a letter with a bunch of gobbledygook on it, but clearly says, "We got your request for scheduled award. We need a scheduled report from a doctor. This is all you need." Well, we got in her econ file. All those 26 pages didn't make it to get in. They weren't collated together, and they were not attached to the CA7. God help the poor claims examiners. It goes to London, Kentucky, and they scan it, and it just goes out, and it's like you took a chart and threw it on the floor. It is a piece of crap, government. I mean, that's embarrassing. Now, in Ellis Clinic, I have a whole staff that when your records come in, they go through them, take care of any duplicates, and then we do a summary list. So say there's an MRI, we'll put the impression. If there's a surgery with doctor, the surgery, the post-op diagnosis, so that 10 years from now, a treating doctor can just read that report and know where you were at this point in time. Also, a claims examiner or district medical advisor can read it because they're not going to pull it up from the file and read an MRI. They're just going to deny because that's what they do. And they just screw the working man and the vet over and over and over again. And I think, like I said, if you file for anything federal government or VA, file for PTSD for 6 months later. But if you come here, we'll take care of your PTSD. We're going to win it because the law set up that. For instance, in federal, you get to pick your doctor. And by law, my report has more legal value than the federal government's report. Like in a car wreck, the two doctors are equal. And the judge and the jury choose between which ones got the better medical rationale. In federal, that didn't happen. Okay? But no one knows the law until you get up to a higher level from somebody that's denied, some foolish. Some of the stuff I see, these people don't have a high school education. I mean, it's just not even rational. No. You need somebody with legal medicine training. All these degrees out, it even goes out in the hall. You know, I've been doing this for 50 years, and it's taken me 50 years to learn it. But you're not going to learn this in medical school. You're not going to learn it. There's no class. I'm the class. I'm the book. But doctors, you can read my stuff and do this, or come in. I'll teach you how to do it.
If a patient has the ability to either retire or stay on the periodic rolls through workman's comp, which one should they choose and why?
Well, it's a hard decision. Let me explain how difficult the decision is. 60-year-old postal employee, walker, hips, knees, and ankles are all approved. And the nurse case manager, don't trust him. Don't ever let your doctor talk to him, and don't have him in the room when you're talking to the doctor. The doctor say, okay, you can come in the room if you give me the code that I can bill for my time. Slavery stopped in 1863. You don't do anything for free, doctor. This, okay? And she won't even know it, okay? But they've been getting away with this. Just like federal employees, federal officers with a badge, they get away with it. No, you're the lowest on the totem pole if you're a federal employee, you got a badge. You got to behave, I don't. Okay, anyway, and she wants him off workers' comp, 75% of his pay tax-free until he dies. Did you hear me? Until he dies. State workers' comp, you can have a fuse back, and I think you get 12 weeks off work, and that's it. Tough luck. You're screwed. Okay? But so, or he can be on FERS. She wanted him on FERS. She wanted him on the FERS retirement, federal retirement, at 40% taxable. I said, that's a great idea. That'll save post office a lot of money. But you hired him under 1916 law that's extremely fair. I mean, it's actually too fair, but that's okay. If employment factors contribute the slightest amount, it's 100% covered, or aggravate pre-existing the slightest amount, it's 100% covered. Well, that means everything's covered as long as you get a doctor with a white coat to say it and put it in a rationale that a layman can understand. And so they sent him to a second opinion who said he can work. I said, yes, he can work with these restrictions. Post office said, well, we don't have a job for that. So he stays on workers' comp. They sent him another second opinion. Yes, he can work. I agree. These are the restrictions because I get to determine the restrictions. He picked me. I determine the restrictions, not anybody else. Government can't. The president can't. I determine restrictions. That's the law. Obey it, people, and stop. Okay. So anyway, so they send him a third one. The third guy said he's never going back to work. Now they said the period. We do it just once a year, and he will stay on this until he dies. People come for a periodic report because no one knows even how to do that. We have a guy in New York had to go to Germany to get his back surgery because nobody in New York would take federal workers' comp. Claims examiner thinks there are a lot of providers in federal workers' comp. So in federal workers' comp, you get online, you become a provider. And so there's a whole list. What happens, you get in it about the 15th time. Yeah, hospital here in town, tried to do federal workers' comp for 2 years, and I saw the reports. I could just say what the truth is. They're a piece of crap. They're not going to get past the muster for federal workers' comp. And then they did schedule awards. Very good schedule awards for state workers' comp, but they sure don't meet the criteria for federal. So people didn't get schedule awards, or they got lower than what they should have, and they hurt people. So they recently said we don't do federal workers' comp anymore. We had a patient, approved case. She wanted just physical therapy at this hospital, which is a great hospital, by the way, wonderful hospital. Absolutely exemplary care. Okay. Well, no, they don't do federal workers' comp. Yes, they do. No, they don't. So Lori, who does all our referrals, calls the workers' comp person of this big hospital complex here in the city, and they're national. Oh yeah, we do federal workers' comp. Send us the adjuster's name. That means state workers' comp. It's claims examiners, and you don't need a claims examiner's name. You've got a claim number, it's already open. You just get online, and in 5 minutes, you know if it's accepted, and you get paid 5 days later, direct payment. Okay? And so, yes, we can. And then we told her, no, they don't. Yes, they can. So she gets out there, fills all the stuff out, does all this stuff. And then they said, oh, we can't even do physical therapy for an interfederal patient, which is the largest employer in every state. And Oklahoma is the third largest as percentage of federal patients. I'm 81 and I just call stupid now. And Ron White, my hero, said, you can't fix it.
B. Wilson says, thanks for all the help that you give.
Oh, it's my staff. It's my staff. When you come to work for Ellis Clinic, you have to sign a release that if you gain 20 pounds, you won't sue me. Now, I was a small town doctor. Of course, the more eccentric you are, the more they love you in a small town. Football team doctor, all that stuff. And I got quilts and jams and food. We get more here. And this is basically a doc in a box. Now, it's a big box we have. I mean, we've got the whole floor, but and it's legal medicine. But we get more love here because not only are we getting your treatment for you, okay, but we're getting your rent paid, we're getting your food paid, and we're keeping you out of jail. So we are, I tell the staff, if you were at a bank, you'd be gone. If you're a law officer, you made a mistake, you'd be gone. And medical's not so bad. Let's say I did surgery on a knee and it said the wrong one on the op report. That's not malpractice, that's a typo. Unless someone used it to do something. Okay. Now, if I operated wrong knee, that's malpractice. But in federal, the claims examiner it's the wrong knee. The claims examiner's hands are tied because she or he has a higher fiducial duty. So we can't get mad at them all the time. An adjuster from a doctor and doesn't say anything, and they can accept a claim. They have autonomy. But a claims examiner, the medical rationale has to meet criteria, because if they accept it, it comes out of another agency. So if the claims examiner accepts it, it comes out of the post office, comes out of Tinker, comes out of the FAA, yeah. So they have a higher duty. So it's not always bad people. It's just the very fair system that's just a lot of people don't know how to do. And this is the funnest medicine I've ever done. This because I'm really helping people now. And I've delivered over 700 babies and done a lot of surgery. That was nice, but this is big stuff. This is fun. This is my hobby.
I've got a question here for you from John Sullivan. It says, can Dr. Ellis diagnose if I had a TBI from my toxic exposure to JP4 in the Air Force? I have documentation of the 400,000 gallon fuel spill, APRs.
Well, you stop right there. Let me tell you about VA. This is how you handle that. The best records are none, because no one has records in the military anyway. Because you don't want to go on KP. But anyway, when you ingest and inhale a hydrocarbon, for instance, if you have a child that drinks a bunch of JP4, a bunch of gasoline or something like that, You do not give them IPCAC. You do not induce vomiting because they throw up, you're going to inhale just a little bit of that oil fumes. The lungs can't handle oil. You're around jet fuel, you're sniffing fumes, you're in a tank cleaning it up, it's going to hurt your lungs. Lungs can handle smoke just great. I mean, you got to have a lot of smoke for a long time before you pits and stuff there, based on that logic and medical evidence. And yeah, that's easy. Now, traumatic brain injury. Here's the problem. People don't know how to diagnose it. If you ever see no loss of consciousness, these people are dumber than shit. If you had a loss of consciousness, you don't know you had a loss of consciousness. It has to be no observed behavior that would be loss of consciousness. But you'll have emergency room people and everything else say no loss of consciousness, like the football players, the neurologists. We've known for years the football players and fighters get, the brain can't handle stuff. Okay. And the NFL, I listened to their neurologist, that's how stupid they are, and took it all the way to Chicago, federal court, and just at the doorstep, they settled for $750,000. Hey, NFL, you need me for your marketing team. Now we're all doing this helmets, we're doing this stuff. Well, the cat's out of the bag, you stupid fools. You're listening to a neurologist telling you what to do. No, okay, so TBI, you tell me your symptoms, and I make the diagnosis. My daughter worked on her psych degree. This is years ago when I was doing, okay. We pulled the charts that start with the last name starts with A through D. We made sure they were plaintiffs in state workers' comp or personal injury. They had an attorney, so there's a motive to lie and diagnose the brain damage by MRI, CT scan, or neuropsych test, which is a big long 2-day test, not my diagnosis. And on the patient information form, where you found out what's wrong, they might mention headaches. 76% didn't tell me of memory problems, which is the biggest thing that shows up. And 86% of treating doctors missed it. With a positive MRI, CT, or neuropsych missed it, and the worst were neurologists. We had 103 patients. So back then, I had walking wounded clinic, with the occupational therapist, speech therapists, and stuff. And you can't have the head in. It's not, the brain's not made for that.
If a patient is receiving benefits through the VA, are they still able to receive a schedule award from workman's comp?
Oh yeah, this is bizarro world. So let's say you were born with a club foot, and high school basketball you had knee surgery, then your car wreck you had knee surgery, then your Marines had knee surgery, and then you work for the federal government and you get a strain. The strain for the knee, strain. That in of itself would be like 1 or 2%. The way I would rate the scheduled award, I would rate the knee as it is with all the stuff and add the club foot. What? So you can have VA and federal and you double dip. They're both they were written by Jesus in 1916. Okay. They're very fair. And the case law shows the government, but the Congress passed these laws, they knew the individual was taking on the whole federal government. It always goes to the vet or the federal employee. Now, it doesn't work that way in practice until you get it. But most of the time, most of the time, people file a federal workers' comp claim, it goes away, nothing happens, it's taken care of. I just see the end of the bell curve, and people are having trouble. And they're having, horror stories like you'd think the mafia would do to people. And 60 Minutes wouldn't even believe it. But you come in and talk to these people, they'll love to tell you their story. Just horror stories. And of course, I just love kicking ass when these arrogant federal officers come in and think they know shit. They better know the law if they come into my office.
Can a patient receive a schedule award and be on periodic rolls while on the same claim?
No.
What about?
Now, here's the deal. So you get a schedule award and it's so much a month, and it's schedule awards can be the same check. And then when schedule award's over, it stops. On periodic rolls, it'll last a lifetime. But now, so like I had an attorney wanted a schedule award, and I told her, I said, now this is what's going to happen. Once that schedule, you're going to have to pay a piece of that to your attorney, which is a crook. And but if you stay on the periodic rolls, it goes the rest of your life. And so when that runs out, it's going to be cut off. Well, my attorney said that we'll get your temporary total disability restarted. I said, so I picked up the phone, called him. Can you do that? No. Okay, have you ever done it? Okay, if you will sign an affidavit that you'll promise that you will pay her that difference until you get her back, I'll give you a scheduled award. Well, I can't do that. Well, then you're a lying son of a bitch, and I'm going to tell her to fire your ass. And if you don't like me, sue me. He was just trying to suck money out of her. You do not need an attorney in federal workers' comp unless someone files criminal charges against you. Because they don't know it. Got an attorney firm in Dallas. I ought to say their name. That doesn't do oral hearings. When you have a denial, you can do another doctor's report. You can do an oral hearing, which we always win. Now we don't even do them. Just threatening to do oral hearing until we don't want else in there. Or you could go to ECAB. And they brag about that they don't do oral hearings, and yet they advertise they do federal workers' comp. That's legal and unethical malpractice. So be careful, lawyers.
Bondo Bob wants to know, he fractured his left foot, submitted VA intent to file. Must I first establish service connection before adding on secondary claims caused by change of gait?
No, you can do it. Yeah, you can go to the VA, but now here's the warning. This is a federal employee out of Ohio who teaches rating officers, like Muskogee, Waco, whatever. He said they're really not well trained. And then the doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs at the VA are not trained at all. They're just thrown out in the mud. But you can go to the VA, and you might get a good doctor, a good nurse practitioner that will do that. But then you get somebody like Korean War, lost toes, and the doctor wrote, denied it because he didn't know it was cold in Korea. And I wrote, my response was, that doctor is incompetent. You can't even pull up a damn almanac. Wish I knew his name. I'd put his name in the report. I mean, come on. So, yeah.
Ms. Kristen.
But it's best to start with your own Nexus report. Okay. And this guy came all the way from Ohio for a Nexus report. Here's this federal employee, really great guy because we had a great time together. But guess who did his Nexus report? My physician assistant, because she does a better job than I do. And he was tickled to death. But you start with your Nexus report first. You don't go in hat in hand with what records you might or may not have. The best records are the ones that burned up in St. Louis. You tell me your history, that is now your medical record. After Vietnam, I was a flight surgeon. I'm at Fort Lewis, Washington. The general comes in. We're friends. I shuck oysters in the beach house, so we go to dinner. Doc, we're getting more complaints about you than all the 15 doctors in this section. You're finding more in the exit physical. And I know what's happening. It's top sergeant. I said, General, did you get a call from Washington? No. Have you read the VA law? No. Then you, top sergeant, kissed my goddamn ass. I said, General, I didn't keep most of medical school. I'm the smartest one in any room. Now, I read the law. The law is ridiculously fair. I think it should be changed. But I apply it correctly. But Top's telling these kids, if you file for anything, I'm going to keep you an extra week. That's still happening, folks. Not too many months ago, I had a guy that filled out his extra stuff. The sergeant tore it up, said, give me another one. Okay? There's a bias against too many files. But anyway, I said, and so I tell him now, you sprained your, now, no one goes to the doctor doing basic with a broken foot. You're hobbling through so you don't repeat basic and you don't get on KP and all that stuff. You know how it is. And no one keeps records. As a flight surgeon in the Army, I never saw a patient, a pilot in my office except for a flight physical. All the treatment's done at the bar because they'll get grounded. Doc, I got this friend. Give your friend this prescription. That's just life. Okay. And they got a, I got a dog. We can trust this guy. Okay. Doctor's report, who knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, no one's trained.
Ms. Krista Dean would like to know if it is possible to use retirement if your job exasperates myalgia.
Okay. So first of all, if it exaggerates, that's a new claim. File new. Now you can add it to the old claim, but it's just easier to get another claim number. So you might have, okay, So you get a new claim number, you get a causation report from a doctor. But don't go on first if you can be on workers' comp. Unless, let's say you got a terminal illness and you know you're going to die. You can take your scheduled award as a lump sum percent penalty, but you take that lump sum and use it for your family. Or you need to put something through college or something like that. But that's always available. And so you may get 30, 100,000, have that lump sum. And you can get back on temporary total disability. It's difficult. And it's long time consuming. And you may starve to death while you're waiting.
How many times can a patient apply for a scheduled award?
Once a year. You can lie. I'll do it once a month, but they're only going to review once every year. Also, if you have a nerve involved, like you have carpal tunnel, you have to wait a year to do the scheduled award. And scheduled awards don't cost you anything. They can pay you pay you up to 100 miles travel. So you don't. If you're federal, you don't have to pay Ellis County anything. We'll do everything. If we can't win it for you, you don't owe us anything. But we always win, so it's no big deal. So, but the main thing is, don't give up. You found a friend. We're going to take care of you. We love doing this. And I got the greatest staff ever. And they love helping. I'm going to charge them to work here. They love working here so much.
Are patients able to be reimbursed if they had to pay out-of-pocket expenses in regards to their workman's comp claim?
Oh, absolutely. For instance, I've got a guy at the FEA. He's got a crush injury in the emergency room at University Hospital. Missed his diagnosis. He comes in a coma. Now they're worried about the crush injury from the forklift, but he's in a coma. That means he needs an MRI or CT scan of the brain and the neck. He's in a coma. Okay, so obviously, because this is hurt and everything. But then I see him 6 months later. He's a muscular guy. His left arm looks like he had polio as a kid. Now, I'm not too mad at the doctors missing the diagnosis because it's a rare thing. Superman had a spinal cord. This is the spine. Had a spinal cord injury. That means he couldn't breathe and everything else. Most injuries are outside a peripheral nerve. Pinch this nerve, like in the back of the lateral foot, the bottom disc, the big toes, the next disc. Okay, that's very common. Well, obviously, this man had a spinal cord injury. That he's paralyzed and weak on that side, can't walk. He's on the 4-prong cane, blah blah blah. And so we wrote a letter that's obvious. Got an MRI, showed it, sent it, and the claim center denied it. And I'm going, well, this is really weird. So then I sent, maybe you can see this. This is what I sent to the claims examiner. See the spinal cord? See the dent? You dumb bitch. Okay. So, and she still denied it. And this man, nice guy, calls his claims examiner and says, I am never going to approve your neck. Now, if that is insurance company, that's $40 million bad faith. I mean, you put that in front of the jury and they don't print enough money. Okay. But you don't even get to know her last name. We know her last name. Anyway. So what we did, so we went ahead and the doctor did the surgery under his health insurance. Now, eventually we'll get it approved, but it's no difference because he's getting his workman's comp check. There's no rush. But we'll ask the insurance company to write off the copay, or we will get him this insurance company and said, you really don't need to pay for that. Because we've got letter after letter after letter and causation. This didn't happen to this young man because of old age. I mean, this is a no-brainer. But this person told him in a derogatory approve your neck. This really happened. It's real life. These people need to be in jail. In federal workers' comp, if it's an acute injury and the supervisor should know about it, he's supposed to give you a CA-16 within 4 hours. And if he doesn't, listen to me, any supervisors out there, that's a criminal offense, a felony. You can have a fine or imprisonment or both. Now, in this case, the supervisor called the ambulance. And I thought, good, we'll make an example of them. And then then the whole world, all the supervisors, don't mess with Ellis Place's patients. But the guy said, no, he's a nice guy. He's trying to help, so we're not going to go. But one of you supervisors is going to go down the tubes. By the way, the Air Force just denies them automatically. That's fraud, folks. And by the way, any agency supervisor, listen to these. At the end of the year, when you're upset about your workers' comp budget, your claims examiner with just a high school education, like the person went 3 times on his first, just ran up a bill. Get control of these people. It was always amazing to me in state workers' comp, I would set aside Fridays for depositions. And 56% of the time, the attorney for the insurance company wouldn't show up. They're not paying him, they're denying treatment and everything else. And then 80% of people settle without future medical because they starved them out. That's pure fraud, okay? Then they changed the law. He who asks for the deposition has to pay for it. I did maybe 1 deposition a month, and that would be if I said permanent total, because you can't just agree. And I said, well, yeah, go do if you get both take out, yeah. So what's going on here? From having a full Friday every Friday to none, the respondent attorneys run up a bill, and the insurance company, because that bias that they even have an ad on it that we're fighting the fakers, are paying out the wazoo to respondent attorneys. You stupid insurance companies, you stupid board of directors. I had a lady had sprained her ankle, fell down to the department store, sprained her ankle, hit her elbow and neck, had 3 x-rays. And twice a month, she goes, her ankle hurts. And we do a video deposition on sprained ankle. We spent about an hour. So they're going to pay that attorney more than they'll ever pay her. And so I said, no, I'm not. She doesn't need future medical. She doesn't need aspirin, but twice a month it's going to hurt. That's all I said. Okay. So a month later, they called me from Garvin County District Attorney's Office and said, well, we just brought in pizza and pop and we just watched this video. They gave her $30,000 for a sprained ankle. Insurance companies, you're just stupid. You ought to pay me $1 megabucks and I'll show you how to take care of this. But you're not too stupid. You'll never call. And I'm 81, so I get to say that. Any other questions? Are we up through?
I think we have one here.
Okay, good. And now you always can call Ellis Claim. Just pick up the phone and call.
Any questions? Yeah. Just a second. I got the screen over here. From the left foot, submitted VA intended file, must I first establish service connection before adding on secondary claims caused by the change of gait? Or should I file all claims at once with records, documentation, Nexus, and DBQ?
You can file all at once, but I recommend you start with the Nexus report from a doctor who puts it all together for the rater. So you with your Nexus, they might, but they're not going to. I can just almost tell you they're not going to, because they're afraid they're going to. Well, when I was a professor of occupational medicine, my doctors say, well, we're going to do both insurance work and work for plaintiffs. I said, okay, first of all, if you're going to do insurance work, you're going to have to write a 0 every time, because there's going to be somebody in the hierarchy who wants a 0. You're going to have to sell your soul. And you also have to be careful of the attorneys you use, because you have to sell your soul. I had one call me, operated back, said, Richard, I want to get a 60, but Jesus reads my report. So I'd write 19. I write 19. The judge gives him 19. He won't even get 5. And I feel sorry for his clients, but this guy, Richard, just dumber than shit.
See if we get any last questions. I'll put up the last question here.
Don't give up. We love you. You're at home.
If patients have to come from out of state to see us, do they have to pay for all that out of pocket, or can they be reimbursed?
Federal, you got to pay. VA, you got to pay your own stuff. Federal will pay up to 100 miles. Now, scheduled wards, you're just gonna have to come here because there's nobody else in the United States that knows how to do a scheduled ward correctly. And there's gonna be a difference between hundreds of, megabucks. It's worth the travel. But for instance, I have a guy that comes from New York twice a year, and they said, you can't see Dr. Ellis over 100 miles. No, we only pay 100 miles. So he caught him on that. And then they're gonna send him a second opinion. And a senator got involved, said, no, this guy's got 14 malpractice claims filed against him. He's under court-ordered anger management. That's who the government's going to use as a second opinion. Okay? Because they can't find anybody else who knows how to do this. No, they're looking for this guy. He's a whore. And so they did. So they couldn't find another doctor in the state of New York. They found one. It was over 100 miles. They were going to pay a cab company so this guy could lay down in the back seat and go to this. He's coming here so he can continue to work with some restrictions. He just needs a restriction form filled out every 6 months. And of course, so he never did get it. That's what you have to put up with. Sorry for you guys, but it's great for Ellis County because it is really fun to kick ass.
Bob went on to say that he was he'll be coming down there for Nexus and DBQ.
Good, yeah. Speaking of DBQs, some venues want DBQs. It's not actually required, but it helps. But I have to charge extra for it because it takes longer than the exam and the report and everything else. Yeah, but it's worth it. In other words, you get 10%. That's like over $140 a month. And now, poor people. Hey guys, veterans that don't have money. Let's do this. You file for 4 conditions. You send me one $500 bill, not 4, and we'll do all 4 that day. And then we will send you a report with just one of them, of the one that's most likely to win. Then when you start getting money, then when you accumulate some, then you send us the money, and we'll send you another report of that day. But I'm going to require $500, especially if you're destitute, because you'll give up. And I need you to have skin in the game. Now, if you're rich, I'll do it for free because you won't give up. Well, that sounds counterproductive, but I want you to win.
I speak to our website, make sure that everybody knows what features we have there, such as
Tell us.
Such as the schedule award.
You don't need to do it on the back of this piece of paper. You can go online, Ellis Clinic, find the schedule award, click it, and say, what if I had 30% for an arm? And you go, wow. And you go, well, I think I'm going to get on my little horse and go. Because they pay so much more than state workers' comp, right? There's no comparison with the government. It's what they should pay. The government actually does it right. States screw people.
Okay, that's a website up here.
Okay, but there are a whole bunch of handouts there that you can go through, and a lot of other videos out there that I've been pontificating all over the world. Also, any union members, Q&A. I don't care if it's just 2 of you, because we'll video it. It's just great value to everybody, because it's real stories, real results with you. Like that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Doctor, could you explain to viewers, after they call us, visit, how does the whole process go?
Okay, this is it. This is how you do it. So you fill out, you send the records, and we'll pick up the phone, call you. Or if you need this, need that, we'll call you and set up the appointment. Same way with VA, you send the records in, and then we'll go through and make sure they're good, get a summary list make sure it's going to be winnable. And then we'll make an appointment. You come in and we'll do our deal. Mail. No email. It's got to be paper. We're not reading screens. Attorney, would you read the CFA? Yeah. $1,000 screen. and $2,000 if it's a duplicate. No, it needs to be organized. You've done it. You've written something on a computer, and you look at it and see all the typos. The brain.
What about a patient that had already got with a lawyer and
Lawyers send people all the time, sure.
but
Yeah, so I'll send the
once-
lawyer, and I'll send the patient report.
once the process has started and they've had some
You're sure the lawyer puts your summary list together. Make sure the lawyer gets your records together. Make him earn his keep. No, lawyers. I love now. The lawyers never hear us. I'm a doctor who loves lawyers. They'll never hear that in their lifetime. Because all we learned about legal medicine, by the way, in medical school was that lawyers don't go to heaven. And I've been doing seminars since 2004, and that's still true. But I love them.
All right, well, if you want to,
Let's sign off. See you next first Friday of the month. Love doing this. Send your questions. But you can always call during the month.
and you can always go on askdocellis.com
Okay.
and use the form to leave us a question, and we'll
Yeah.
have to wait until the webinar will answer.
Right.
Within
Right.
a day or
Okay.
so.
Thank you, Gary. Gary's my genius, my IT genius. Jay's my IT genius. Sherry right here is our e-comp genius. Paige is our paralegal. I wouldn't even hire attorneys since we have Paige.